Yes. We have to test the volume of the microphones. Everybody sound good? Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello? Hello? Is that good?
Yeah.
Good afternoon, folks. I thought it would be appropriate for us today. I'm sure that many of us are aware that we had quite a tragedy that occurred within the last few weeks. With the passing of Amy Decimore's daughter, Shyla. And I know the funeral arrangements were this past weekend, but I thought it'd be appropriate for us maybe to start the session with a moment of silence, if you will. Thank you.
All right, we'll proceed with the second.
Yeah, so we have a couple, Brandy Macchia will not be with us tonight, and we do have a time commitment. Mr. Burnside needs to leave before 6.
Okay. Thank you. Kurt?
I think we're just missing Heather tonight,
Okay.
and no time constraints on our side.
All right, thank you. Ron?
I did want to let everybody know tonight that Sarah Cox, many of you know Sarah, who is our executive director in the finance department, has been named acting chief right now. So she is going to take on that role.
Thank you. All right, and with that, I think we left off our last meeting 2 weeks ago with a look at year X.
Need to do the minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Yes,
okay.
we do. I did review them today. Anybody have any changes or deletions to the minutes? Seeing nothing, can we approve the minutes as written? Thank you very much. All right, now, we had left saying we were going to take a look at year X. And did we do that?
Yeah, you have these, you wanna call that the presentation up?
You don't know what?
You wanna call? I'll get out of my notebook.
While Sarah is pulling up the presentation on the adjustments that are made to take to account for years X, just a couple statements maybe, or some commentary around that. So obviously, if we take into account years X, which includes basically our instructional staff and the amount of experience that they have even prior to coming to Lee County would be involved in years X. And so, again, just to kind of reiterate from when we took a look at the compression adjustments, and the reason we put together years L, if you will, is just years L takes into account the amount of time that our teachers have spent primarily in the school district. So, you may, when you're starting salary, you get your years of service that you bring, your credible years of service. One of the issues with years X or years T or whatever we want to call it is that throughout the years there have been different limits to the amount that teachers could bring into the district. So I'm told that back in the day it might have been 7 years total maximum amount of years, and then moved to 10 years, and now we have as much as 20 years. So I would, and we're probably pressed for a little bit of time this time around, but at some point in the future, I think it would behoove us all to really take a look at, the credible, verifiable years of experience, and really make sure that years X reflects all of the experience that our instructional staff brings to the table. So if you guys are okay, I'm going to hand the mic over to Sarah, and she can kind of go through what years X looks like for us today.
All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. So as we look at option 18 to incorporate years X, the order in which we went through this calculation is We added the additional 9 minutes per day first, which equates to 45 minutes per week. Then we went to the new teacher or special instructional salary as proposed by management, and then did some compression adjustments based on years X. So when we look at that percentage increase over the years X, and I have the table up here showing you, starting with year 0 through 2, those employees will receive a 0% compression adjustment, 3 through 5, 1.5%, 6 through 10, 2.5%, and then we go all the way down to 26 plus years, we're applied a 6% compression adjustment. So when we look at the average increase per teacher or per instructional personnel, based on their years X, that's what this graph here shows. So you can see at 0%, that average increase was 7.4%, and of course that, there's a range. Some could have received a lot less, some could have received a lot more, and then even going all the way up to 32 years plus experience, having an average increase of 8.1%. And then the same table for special instructional personnel, 0 years getting an average of 6.8%, all the way up to 30 plus years receiving an average of 8.1%. And the last time we met, there were a lot of questions about, what does this look like for certain people with certain years of experience. So we wanted to provide you some examples and walk you through them. So starting with teacher A at the top left, who would have a current base salary of $50,500, we first apply the additional 9 minutes per day, which equates to a 2% increase. Then they would receive the minimum base increase, bumping them up to $54,500, a 0% compression adjustment, making their new base salary $54,500, or a 7.9% increase. I won't go over every table here, but just looking at teacher D, who may have 13 years of experience, current base salary of $59,948. They would receive the additional 9 minutes, which equates again to a 2% increase. They would receive 0% for the minimum base, given that they're already above the $54,500. And then based on the table shown in a previous slide, they would receive a 3.5% compression adjustment to get them to their new base salary of $63,270.98. So again, just some more examples of what that looks like for teachers with even more experience. I'm highlighting a teacher with potentially 30 years of experience getting approximately an 8.1% increase. So then if we take a look at what that looks like for our special instructional, starting with, for example, a counselor who may have 1 year of experience making $59,489.85 today, they would again receive that 9 additional minutes or 45 minutes per week, which is equivalent to a 2% for everybody. They would get the base minimum increase to $62,500, which is a 3%, and then giving them to their new base salary of $62,500, or a 5.1% increase. So again, just some more examples of what that looks like, all the way up to a counselor with potentially 32 years of experience. And that was the information that we prepared for you all today based on using years X.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Anybody have any questions? Kevin?
Hello? Yeah, there we go.
Yep.
I'm gonna try not to have a coffee fit. So I guess, for me, I have to go back to a chief interest among both groups, and that's ratifiable. Right, and so what we're gonna see at the base is a 7.5% increase. But I think it takes until year 21 mostly, until any of the employees will see that increase or better. Right? Yeah, so. Yeah, special instructional, go one more back, please. Yeah, so for me, this just creates more compression in 0 to 20, and I'm gonna be honest with you, the majority of employees are 0 through 20 at this point. So when I look at putting out a deal that has to be ratified, I can't see why anybody with under 21 years of experience says yes. I'm just gonna put it out there. And even 21 is shaky because you're only 0.2 more of an increase than anybody else. So I wonder what was So I'm assuming that the year's L percentage, the year's L total money and the year X total money is the same total money, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so what happens if we took, I'm not sure how to ask this, what's the difference between the two? Like year's L cost and year's X cost?
So are you asking the same percentages that were put in to apply to the year's L? Because we had to adjust some of the percentages.
If we went with year L percentages.
Right. So your L percentages would cost, the total cost of that with the additional minutes, the increase in the salary, and then the compression adjustments would be just over 36 million.
Okay, so, and you probably don't, because I'm not sure you thought I was gonna ask this, but do we have, let's say we could do 36 million, hypothetically. What do these percentages look like? Because I'm assuming like year 0 stays at 7 point something, because they're just being brought up, right? So what do the percentages look like in comparison? Because like a year 2 teacher, somebody who hasn't been hired yet is getting a 3.5% more raise than they are. Hasn't even been hired yet. Why would anybody in year 2, when they find that out, vote for this? I'm not sure how many years, yeah, we have 370 year 2s. So why would anybody there say, well, geez, I'll quit and come back? You know what I mean? But I mean, like, why? So I guess, how am I going to explain? Because I have to go out and say vote for the deal. We all do, on both sides.
Right.
So how do I go out and say to a 9-year teacher that a new person is getting 7.4 and they're getting 4.6 and they should be cool?
I mean, I think the overall, if you take a look at, we tried to figure out what the average increase would be. So for our instructional staff, it's about 6% increase is the average increase. And again, so if you take a look at that compared to what's happening across the state, I know we don't like to compare ourselves to others at certain points. So in total is a 7% increase in compensation. The average is 6 for instructional staff and a little bit 5.6, I believe, is what it would be for special instruction. So at this time, and again, we have to remember that there are additional items in that we included in the package, which is primarily unprecedented as well across the state. So when you look at the bereavement and parental language and the change in FRS, I mean, the parental language in itself, we would be the only district in Florida to have such language that is permissive as what you proposed and that we accepted. So I think it's a little bit more across the, what is the total package, I think is the selling point, that there are quite a few items within that package that, again, are not only unprecedented, but way outperforming any other district in the state of Florida. So I guess that's if I were you, that would be my parts of my discussion.
Anything else, Kevin?
You've got some.
Oh, no, let me get it back.
Can we go back to slide 1, please? Okay, so I'm having a really hard time understanding, now you can go back to the slide we were just on. I don't understand where we're getting average increase. Like, how is that, like, so if I look at wherever, pick a number, and I'm like, okay, I'm on here, does that mean, like, say year 14, all 150 people are getting a 5.5% increase? Like, what does that mean? Like, what is that? You can keep telling me average, but it doesn't make sense. So is it making from, like, okay, we're gonna work an additional 9 minutes, and then there's something a few slides later that talked about compression, but I didn't see a breakdown for compression. So is that how we're taking 9 minutes plus compression, plus maybe you're getting a bump? Like, I'm having a hard time understanding where the average is coming from. and where that a few slides later, it said something for compression, because I don't see like, everyone kind of had a little bit different number, if I was not mistaken. If you could help me explain that.
So I think that based on, like, if you take it, not every teacher that has 14 years of experience might be at the same salary. And so, you know, obviously, I don't think that it would fluctuate all that much, but it just depends on where those particular teachers are at in that. But you can see they're pretty consistent though, I mean, based on the percent increases for those, that level of years of experience, it's somewhat consistent. I mean, it's right, you know, anything over, when we start at year 7 is 4.6, from 11 to 15, it's 5.5. So it's not, it doesn't deviate as far from that, but you can't say that every single teacher who's at 13 years is equivalent to themselves, because they're at different places.
So you're saying not every teacher that is within whatever years X is going to get the same percentage increase?
Correct. Donna, may I take a shot at answering the question?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I need my
Right,
math,
because in
I
years
need my
past,
more
it's been like,
experienced math folks in the room
it's
to
in years
to
past,
answer
it's been
that.
like, I'm in this year, I'm getting this percentage of an increase.
Correct.
So how are we saying, like, how do you know if you're the average or the unaverage?
I think Kurt has an answer for us.
Let's hope this is the right answer. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, so when they, and stop me on the other side if you think I'm saying something that's incorrect, and we can get to the weeds on this. So when they say that they're spending a 7% more in salaries than last year, the way I view this is, if you take the dollar amount that they spent on salaries in 24, 25, and the dollar amount that they're proposing to spend here, this dollar amount is 7% more than what they spent last year. Is that correct? So then, if you look at just pick one, year 2, there's 370 people with 2 years of credible teaching experience who work for the district. Under their option, number 18, an additional 45 minutes per week would be paid. Then, because they would likely be under the minimum of 54,500, they would move to 54,500. And then the percentage increase would be applied, but in 0 to 2, there was a 0% increase. So if you take everybody's increase in year 2 and calculated what that percent increase would be for that person, the average of that population would see a 4% increase. Not the individual people, the average of the increase of that population. Is that correct?
That sounded pretty right, and Kirsten shaking her head, yes, so.
Sarah's
my-
nodding
did my
her head
She was the
yes.
one who figured all that out.
Did my math speak
Yes.
translate into English?
I'm gonna bring it up.
It gets a
I
little,
think there's a slide missing that I'm not seeing.
can you go back one more slide?
Can we just start beginning to end right
So
there?
in that
That's
case,
what I did.
everybody, so let's take the year 3 to 5, if under this option. Everybody in year 3 to 5, year X, in the 4th step of the order of operations would receive a 1.5% increase.
That's what I was missing.
That percentage is not the same for every individual because every individual in that
Right.
bracket don't make the same.
Right. I was missing this slide
Okay,
in my brain.
okay,
I think Amy? Oh, you got one? Okay.
okay.
All right, I hope I'm not muddying the waters more. So let's say that you are a year 15 and you are a superstar. You've done your career ladder, you've gotten the extra $1,000, you've gotten highly effective every time, so your salary is like at the top of year 15. Would you still be getting that 3.5% raise, or are you dropping down because other people are being raised up?
You might have to say that again. So you're saying if somebody got career ladder and, you know, the $300 for being highly effective or whatever that is, then is that taken into account then?
Right, over past years, like highly effective has been like 1,500, and it's just been the last few years we've gone. Right.
And the true up.
Hold on, let me give you the mic so everybody can hear you. Okay.
The other page. That's why the other page shows that the average for a particular year is 5.5%, because within that bracket, within teachers with, say 11 years of teaching experience, some may be at a different place on the career ladder and have received that. Some may have gotten different increases over the years. So not every single teacher in that particular, 11 years of experience is making the same amount of money. So but every single one with 11 years of experience is getting 3.5% on top of what they're currently making.
Okay, so it's not gonna drop down because
No.
the teachers,
No.
they got all of their. That's what I was worried.
Okay, Jill, I think, had her hand up.
This is what I was looking for. So this is with the option currently presented, this is what we see here is the percent increase. So if someone wanted to know with this option what their new salary would be, they would just take their salary, they would find their years, find the percent, take their current salary and multiply it by 1.0 and then whatever the numbers are for the percent, correct?
This is just the compression adjustment, so that doesn't take into account.
This is the third adjustment.
Okay.
So first,
Yeah, the way this was calculated is the very first adjustment from their base pay is the additional 9 minutes. So that pretty much comes out to 2% for everybody. Then that is a new rate there with that additional 9 minutes. Then for everybody who is below the new minimum, they're brought up to that new minimum. So some may already be over that, so they're not getting an additional increase. And then those below are, some might be at 50,500 going to 54.5. Some might be at 52.5 going to 54.5. And so once that second adjustment is made to the new minimum, then these percentages are applied.
So then once we follow all of the different steps to see our salary, okay? I guess I'm confused because we're calculating, we're saying we're gonna add 45 minutes, right? We're gonna add 9 minutes and that's gonna bring our salary up. So if our salary is $100, it's gonna bring our salary up to $102, okay? Then we're gonna add another percent, but when we get to the end, my hourly rate's gonna be higher. So wouldn't that change the value of the 9 minutes? Or am I not doing math properly?
Yeah, on that back end, but you're compensating for 1% raise that you're giving.
I don't know, no, I'm trying to understand, wouldn't that change the value of the 9 minutes? Their salary goes up to a higher rate, goes up to the 9.
so is the 9 minutes gonna be put on before the salary increases or after the salary
The
increases?
9 minutes is first.
Yes.
So
Okay.
the compression adjustment compounds on top.
It's not all.
The 2%. The 9 minutes. Yeah.
All right, Shay? Go ahead, Shay.
Hi, so, this might be more for Ron. I know we talked about last time how SPALC received their letters ahead of time what their new salary would be prior to ratification. Is that something that you guys are still willing to do for now?
Absolutely. So, we can come to consensus on this. Kirsten and the compensation team run the potential earnings for every instructional person in the district, and they would get a letter saying this is what your salary will be moving forward.
Got the Tina, please. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna try and muddy the waters about. It seems like maybe the end of last school year when we were bargaining, may have been the beginning of this one, but there was like a continuum of amount of money that teachers, like the minimum and the maximum. If this percentage increase takes us past that maximum, do we still get that, or we have to stop at that number?
We did away, we took that off.
That was gone?
Yeah, that was not part of the option.
Okay,
I think where we landed on that discussion was, and again, this kind of really, I'm glad you asked that, because this kind of plays into the whole year's X thing. If we, let's just say for next year, we look at really taking a look at true year's X. And then that really is the whole concept behind an open range system. And that's, what we've done with the other employee groups in the district. It makes sense to really gather, what your credible years of experience are. Even though you may have only brought 7 years in whatever year, 2005, but you had really 10 years that you could have brought in because that's what you did. And we would allow those additional years as long as you can verify from your district that would be the case. And that's how you place people on the page. Now, when you get to the maximum, typically there's a maximum at that point. We typically give increases in bonuses because there's no more room to go on the payroll. But that's not the case here. That is not an option, so.
Okay, Anna?
So, sorry, I'm still really confused, but, so the 45 minutes a week, is that calculated from like our personal hourly rates, or my base salary is increased 2%? Like, how do you determine how much I make for working an additional 40, like each individual employee, if we're all making something totally different?
Yeah, Anna, the 2% or additional 45 minutes is based on your current base salary. That's your base salary, which includes the additional 30 minutes per week right now. So it takes the hourly rate of that. Does that make sense? So it's your current hourly rate, not including any salary supplements, longevity, nothing like that you would receive. It's strictly your base salary.
So then that question goes back to what Jill said, is after you do my increase and everything, at the end of it, aren't I starting with a higher hourly rate? So then, can you make another slideshow? I'm confused. I'm just kidding.
Right,
No,
so
it's not-
after, maybe
It's not gonna
this
make
will
sense to
help.
me, it's not gonna make sense to me, you can keep trying. So it's not gonna make sense to me until it makes sense to me. So, let's do a cake and structure, can you document my accommodations, please? And maybe I need some peer talk.
Okay, whatever you need to help you understand, we'll get you there.
All right, Jill and,
Right.
So will teachers receive their letter with their increase information and all their new salary prior to their ratification vote? Okay.
Tomorrow, Amy?
The way that we've structured that is, we come to consensus and then we set a timeline working backwards from when that would need to be on a board agenda, and then when TALC would put, the ratification vote together. And I think it's 10 days that, 10 days that the new concept has to be shared with all your employees. At that point, the start of the 10 days is when we'll try to get letters out, but sometime before the ratification piece. And then what we've done was we've actually opened office hours to allow for people to, to come online and ask some questions, and we help try to verify that.
all right, anything else? Yes, Kevin?
All right, so this is an awful lot explaining to a lot of people to make this figure out. And I know we're trying desperately to address compression and do the right thing, but in reality, the things you've shown to me kind of create compression because the bottom is gaining more quickly on those people above it. That's the definition of compression, right? And so I have a radically simple idea. How much, we're assuming a $31 million pot of money, even though there is no board authority. And so we'll just play with 31 million, just like I could play with 80 million, because there's no board authority. So assuming a $31 million pot of money, how much does the 9 minutes cost the bargaining unit?
8.5 million.
All right, so that's, let's call that let's call it, so 31 take away 8.5 is what, 23.5? 22.5? So that's 22.5 to deal with all this percentage stuff and stuff like that. So what if we just took 22.5 and divided it by 6,000? What number does that get everybody?
Yeah, so again, don't forget, one of the interests, again, and this is where that 1% that is allocated out of the 7% to move people to the new minimum, which is the 54.5. And I know that's probably the biggest difference that we have right now in relation to, the packages.
But here's what I think is going to happen. So I think if we do that, that probably, what is that? So if we give everybody the 2% for the extra 9 minutes, that moves the base pay to what, a little over 51?
Yes, I believe so, 51.5.
So that means you're 3 short of where you need to be. So how much of the 22.5? Sorry, I'm keeping this in my head. How much of the 22.5 would it take to bring the bottom up to 54?
So what does it take then?
Once we have the 2% applied, what is the total amount that brings everybody up to the minimum?
No, it just brings the minimum up. What's the total amount to just bring the minimum, the 0-year people?
Without the 2 minutes? You mean to go from 50,550?
After the 2 minutes,
After 2 minutes.
and then bring the base pay up to 54.5. Don't worry about anybody else for now.
No,
Just the base pay.
Right.
What's the amount to do that extra $3,000?
we might be able to caucus and see if we can kind of take a look at that, but for some reason, I want to say that takes just over 1%. When we looked at it, so 2%,
Okay, so let's say that's, $2 million.
So that's,
Right?
no, 1% is 4.8 million, 4.6 million.
Of 21 million?
No.
How much of the money left over? There's 31 million, you just spent 8.5, that's 22.5. Out of that 22.5, how much is it gonna take to move the base to 54, to do that $3,000?
So there was 16 million, including the 16 million to address the compression.
So
And again,
how is it?
these are I'm trying to remember my conversations, with Amy before she.
Right.
I believe it was 16 million that would be specifically dedicated towards the compression percentages
So you're saying it takes maybe 5 million? to
That's
move
what I
the
said,
base
I thought it was just
up to
over 1%, so I know a percent is 4.6. Okay, we have that.
Perfect.
Sure, I'm right though, I thought it was 6. So that's it. It is what it is. It is what it was. So 2% is 8.5 million. Another percent to increase everybody to the base. We also included the performance, because we have to include that in there, the performance pay, that if we rolled that forward, that was what Rob kind of reminded us So that would have been the additional 1.3, I believe, which actually equals out to the 1%. So if we take a look at I think it's 4.3 and change equals a 1% increase. So 16 million would be a 4% increase in the compensation in compression. Another 4 million would be the 1% to bring and the performance to bring everybody up. That's 28 million in increases, and then add the benefits to that, which is where we're at 30. Right?
You waiting on us?
I think so.
Waiting on you to finish your
I
explanation.
think that's it.
Oh, that was it.
That was it.
The math folks can kind of help me out there.
You're making my brain hurt.
I think where part of our confusion is, at least for us three right here, is let's just look at the 493 people that are at year 0. So if I heard what you said, the increase in time for the increase in pay was approximately 2%, which would bring them to 51.5. Is that correct? I need to make sure that's correct before I say my next statement, so. Approximately. Okay, so we both heard the same thing. So in order to bring those people to 54.5, it's an additional $3,000. And I'm not adding like the FICA and all that on there, but if we just take that 3,000 times the 493 people, that's 1.5 million. Does that sound correct, incorrect? Because you're saying 4 million and I'm looking at 1.5 million in my calculation. And I was a math teacher, so. I might not be a math teacher now, but I was.
Robotics, teach
Well, you
robotics.
keep talking for one.
Now they're rolling.
That's correct, Jay.
So we're saying 1.5 million approximately plus, what is another, or 20% or so for 22. And then that additional, so what would the performance pay be? Because that wasn't on your option.
It was what it was last.
1.6 million for the year.
Just for everybody's that's listening, there is a requirement that we include in our salary schedule, performance bonuses, which are in the current contract language. So it's, I believe, $300 for anybody that's highly effective and $250 for anyone that's
Okay,
Also, that 250 is for anyone that's on the grandfather schedule.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said also that 250 is for anyone on the grandfather schedule, by
Right.
state law.
all right, anything else, or did you want to caucus?
Yeah, we'll call. We're gonna call.
Okay. 20 minutes?
Yes. We have the caucus person.
Okay. I don't know, I keep
Caucus, so would you like to give us your report, please?
Okay.
Yes.
So we discussed the option at length, even more than what we anticipated.
Okay.
I'm trying to pull it up. Oh yeah, I don't have it in the folders on my phone. The increased compression that this causes is most concerning to us. Especially years 2 through, I can't remember. Yeah, 19, especially these first few. And our folks are living through the days in which we were mandated to move the base salary to 47.5 without giving a real nod to everybody else that was here. And one of our interests is dealing with compression, and we feel that this causes compression, especially at the beginning. And that's not something that we're able to sign off on. And we have another option we can throw up, but I can do it after the caucus reports.
Okay, so Ron, caucus report?
Yeah, we just kind of, we had kind of anticipated a little bit more thorough breakdown of what those percentages look like. And so basically, you know, what it boils down to is that, so there is $9.191 million for the 9 minutes. There is $4,047,000 for the new base and 16.782, which includes the compression adjustments and the performance pay, which is again a little bit of the difference when you include that in there. It's actually the career ladder and the performance pay. So the career ladder equals about $380,000 and the performance pay comes out to about 1.6. So that's the compression adjustment alone is about 14.5 and then you factor in the other 2 million. That's what gets you to the 7%. So 9.1 obviously is a little over 2%. 4 million for the new base is just a little bit under 1%, and then the 16.7 is almost right at the 4% adjustment. So that's what equates to a 7% total increase.
Okay, thank you. And you said you had an option. Let's let Amy finish getting this up. Okay.
Option 19.
Sounds good to me.
Yes, will be option 19. All right, Kirk.
All righty, we're trying to bring this thing in for a landing here. Try not to add to the compression. So in keeping with the theme of the package idea, we like parental bereavement terminal pay and the performance pay. And then to make it very easy and stick around the ballpark here, the size of the pot, we like to discuss adding giving everybody a $4,000 increase. So parental bereavement terminal pay, performance pay, and an increase of $4,000. Sorry? Didn't say anything about extra minutes. I guess it'd be 54.5 or 55.5 under that, wouldn't it?
No, it's 4.5.
Yeah, 54.5. I wasn't adding that. Thank you.
That's it?
Short and sweet.
Okay.
I'm assuming,
For that 4,000 field cost out.
4,000 times 6,000 employees is 24 million.
nine minutes?
Nothing in this option about the 9 minutes.
Okay. Ron, anything else?
No, nothing else here, if that's the option. So we have 19, did we consider 18? Option 18 is the 45 minutes, creating the new and using years increase based on years X.
That creates compression. I mean, the numbers we did when we looked at salaries between people making less than the new proposed base and where people are today, that wipes out like 9 years. People through 9 years would barely make more than the new base. So, and I need to ask a couple of questions that I don't necessarily need answers for today, but asking on behalf of the people who want it. So the first question I have is related to the equalization of supplements for the special instructional group, okay? We propose that as something the district had no interest in it, I will say. The people who have those supplements want an answer. Why? Why is the district not in favor of that? In theory, why are they not in favor of that? And then another option we put on the table was to add the tech centers to the special instructional group. So yes, a special center group. I think those employees deserve an answer, because it wasn't a cost answer, right? It wasn't a cost answer. It wasn't, well, we'll counter with maybe moving it a couple grand. It was no. So again, I think the employees in those groups deserve to know why.
Well, the answer to that is the options that were put on the table, there were increases for both those employee groups. So we did accept the option to pay teachers based on the industry credentials, which they didn't have. So that was to address them, and that in conversations with, you know, quite a few folks, that the special centers were intended for our students that bring exceptional challenges to the table, and that's what the exceptional, that's what the what those supplements were intended for. You know, it's the question of whether or not their budget is really cost neutral. We don't know what specifically that budget's going to be, but you know, the district felt that there isn't increases beyond all of the other ones specifically for them. And then the same kind of concept with special instruction. So, you know, increasing the salary base up to that, and then, you know, really addressing supplements. And we really have not addressed supplements in this. We made an attempt to, but, you know, there were interest on both sides for supplements that were basically rejected. And so that's why we weren't really interested in increasing any of the supplements this time around.
I left one thing out of option 19,
Okay.
and that was the mandatory meetings cap at 45 minutes. That was supposed to be part of my option 19 as well.
All right, thanks, we'll add that.
Thank you.
And I just want to, like, this option 19 is not as sexy or detailed as the other 95 options, both sides of it, right? And it also does not address compression directly. It just doesn't. But the problem is, from us, what appears to be a mandate and attention to the base is not offset by that same monetary commitment above that. So again, if we're not gonna address compression, we're only gonna make compression worse, then maybe the fallback position is do no harm. And everybody just get $4,000. That meets your need to move the base pay up. It kind of just slides the compression as opposed to really addressing it. And who knows? Maybe we get some insight and backbone and, the district goes after the millage and we have some real money to talk about. But I continue to say that as long as we take what is given to us, and we all admit what is given to us is not nearly enough, to put the burden of bearing that expense on the employees is no longer tenable. I mean, at some point, the district has the obligation to do what it needs to do, regardless of political fallout and annoying people in Tallahassee and in the courthouse.
I think we'd like to comment.
Okay,
Okay. We'll go to 10 minutes.
we're gonna caucus.
10 minutes.
Regional caucus was to get the team together to kind of discuss and process, what was presented by TALC. And then,
Option 19.
yes, in option 19. And so we had some discussions again about the interest, specifically around, the 9 minutes and the additional compensation for that. That was what our original caucus was.
Okay,
Do they have to share theirs too?
yes, they do.
Our individual.
Your caucus, your TALC caucus.
Yeah, we just discussed the option and just our desire to put a deal in front of our membership for a vote ASAP.
Okay, thank you. Now, the executive caucus.
Yeah, I'll since we called it, I'll start with that.
All right.
Yeah, so we just, we all want to get across the finish line. So, what are some of our options again, to make sure that we have all of the interests on both sides taken care of. And so we feel like, appreciate TALC's in their option, their willingness to allow the district to increase the starting salary and to make us somewhat competitive, and competitive, we need that, so we appreciate that. We also appreciate the equity that they bring to the table in relation to that. If you recall, one of our first options was actually a 3% COLA across the board, and that will end up being more like a 6% COLA with the 4,000. So what we would like to put on the table, what we discussed was, we have to stay somewhat within our numbers that we are allowed to do that. We feel like we can do that with an option, I don't know, what are we making this one?
20.
Will be option 20.
Option 20. So we're on.
Hold on, let Amy get down there. Okay, option 20.
So we have parental bereavement, terminal, and performance. So management would like to propose that the $4,000 increase would include benefits. We also would include the mandatory meetings capped at 45 minutes. And we would add the 9 minutes to the day with the compensation.
Is that it?
That's it.
That's it. All right, Kurt?
We haven't talked about this so far tonight. Can you talk about what those 9 minutes would look like? Are those 9 minutes, we would want it all to go to planning time if we moved in this direction, teacher protected, all of that. So what is?
Yeah, and that's a good question. I'd be more than happy to answer that. So in our conversations, again, with the differences in adjusting start and end times for our students, we feel like that leaves us a little bit of flexibility or wiggle room, so to speak, to make sure that we meet all of the time that is currently in the contract regarding that. We know that it would be difficult to say, hey, once a week you gotta add another 30 minutes, people have their schedules, all that. So we felt like the 9 minutes, we could maybe create a Google form, run it through your building calendars, and give teachers some flexibility on how they would handle that. So it could possibly be 9 minutes added at the beginning or the end of the day, or 5 minutes in the morning, 4 minutes in the afternoon. Or if the staff decided to, through that Google form, maybe they wanted an additional 30 or 45 minutes to be able to do some additional stuff. So we wanted to leave some flexibility, and then again, this would be for just FY '26, so that we would address that part in next year as well, as far as what that specifically is.
Okay. Anything else? Kevin?
The flexibility on the 9 minutes, is that school-based or individually based?
For right now, it'd be individual. we just would want them to work in the school. If there was a consensus within the calendar that maybe somebody wanted to do something, that we would leave that up to the schools. Like, my thought would be that the school calendar, which is part of our current contract language, which is participatory decision-making, that if there is a change to the schedule, that at least the school calendar committee would reconvene and at least have that conversation. But we would be willing to say the 9 minutes would be, left up to, again, whatever options we create, whether it's 9 at the beginning, 9 at the end, split it up, whatever that might look like. Like, we could leave a Google form with 4 options. We would need to be consistent, obviously. It'd be very difficult to manage to say, well, today I'm coming in 9, tomorrow I'm coming in 5. We just want a commitment to whatever that looks like.
Any follow-up, Kevin? All right, would you pass your mic down to Anna, please?
Is this for my question that I had like forever ago? Or a new question? Can you explain 4K increase with benefits, please? You can't explain it?
Yes. So it would be the gross amount. So you take the $4,000 per employee would be including benefits. So your taxes and those kinds of things. So I think if it's 22%, typically it would be a $3,500 base increase plus the benefits that go along.
But the minimum base salary is still like that's going up to 50. There's a sidebar, I'll wait.
Sorry, I was having did you ask an additional question? Trying to figure out what the answer to that question is.
No, I was waiting to make sure I didn't keep talking, to make sure you had an answer.
Yeah, so what we discussed, and again, those we'd have to come back I don't know that we will come to a consensus tonight, but we have something to build off of so that we can bring a solution file back with what that looks like again for each employee.
So I was just going to say, like, I understand that, 4,000 goes and then benefits and all that come out, taxes, whatever. But the minimum base would still be going up to 40 to 50 for 5.
Yes.
So then they're still getting more than what we are because they're gonna have to make more than that. They're gonna have to make more to take the benefits out to get to the 54.5, is that correct or no? Or does the minimum base start at 54.5 and you make less?
This is the yeah, it could be different.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions, clarifications needed?
Is everything okay?
All right.
Okay.
We now have 20 options.
Everyone was just going to the back.
Making sure you're okay.
Kevin?
Sorry for Anna, my parental commitments got away. I have a child with flat tire, but she's making good, so.
She didn't know that part.
Yeah,
So she was
neither did
following,
mine. Yeah, I mean, I think we're good for tonight.
Okay.
Agree. We have next week
We have
scheduled
Monday scheduled next week
at 4:30.
at 4:30.
And don't forget, I mean, we do have 20 options, you don't have to pick just one. We can mix and match, whatever is gonna work the best.
Or we could go with 25.
Or we could go to 25, 30 options.
There you go.
50 options.
All right.
So are you, is the district okay with closing it tonight, or do we have something else? Ross, do you have something? Okay.
So I'll talk about mine.
No.
So is there an objection to 20 from?
Short answer, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Good question, but yes. So we're done. I mean,
No, I think conceptually we have an idea, we just don't know what we need to run solution files to make this come to life. I don't think conceptually we are headed in the right direction. I mean, I think we are conceptually headed in the right direction.
All right,
See everybody on Monday.
next Monday, same time, same place.